All right, I want to welcome you back to week 3 of the Take 10 Listing Guaranteed program. During the first couple of weeks, we've gotten to know each other and spent some time on solicitation, really started to cross over into objection handling techniques and creating urgency with your consumers and using your solicitation skills or unique selling propositions like if I could, would you, to create a sense of urgency and to handle objections or questions when they come up. We're going to stay on that a little bit today. And then we're going to start to switch gears into meeting new people. And this will be the first week where there's an accountability assignment that requires you to actually meet some people. So I hope that you're up to the challenge, because as it's been told to me by the wealthiest residential real estate agents, the highest producing residential real estate agents in the country, strangers have all your money. You can't get the money that you deserve. You can't get the revenue that you need unless you're willing to talk to strangers. So today we're going to delve into some new and different ways that you can meet new people. And then throughout weeks 4, 5, and 6, we're going to be starting to move into services that you can use to expedite your listing acquisition, farming skills that you can develop. And then, of course, we're going to get into the actual presentation and follow up with clients during the latter weeks. Starting to sound like excuse me. I'm afraid I might be starting to sound like I think I'm so much more nervous with you here. No. I feel like I'm starting to sound like a broken record with this part of the conversation, but affirmations and the affirmation principles state that the more you drive home a belief, that your neurotransmitters will actually fire a sense of certainty about the belief that you're affirming. So you're almost brainwashing yourself to the higher return on investment and the credibility signage, the advantages of internet syndication for listing agents, and the fact that it's really tough to become a multi-transaction residential real estate agent and create enough buyers to make a living on without listings. And this idea that if I run my real estate business without any listings, then I'm really running a shoe store without any shoes. Why would anybody want to meet me? And when you make a business plan and you set a predetermined benchmark for yourself, you drill that belief into stone. You carve that into stone. I'm taking 10 listings this year, damn it. I'm going to refer 2 of those sellers out. I'm going to upgrade 2 of those sellers, and I'm going to close at least 2 additional buyers from the inquiries that I get from those listings. If you affirm that belief in your mind daily, that this is the purpose of your real estate career: 10 listings, 2 sellers to upgrade, 2 sellers to refer out, and 2 buyers to come from those inquiries. And if you affirm that, whether you're in the 325 price point or the 450 price point, I believe the affirmation principle. And I believe that affirming your purpose, your predetermined benchmark is a it's a characteristic of the elite performers in any industry. It doesn't really have anything to do with residential real estate. People that are very, very effective life insurance salespeople, effective business owners in the restaurant industry, people that are effective in any area of endeavor, whether it be fitness or, uh, you know, going out and building a business from scratch to install pools. I mean, how many pools am I going to install? How am I going to market myself to the people that don't currently have pools? I mean, it doesn't matter what the industry is. It's the affirmation principle and setting those predetermined benchmarks and those goals and affirming those goals that should sound like a broken record. In fact, I would submit to you that it's the people who don't affirm and don't have a resolve or even condition themselves to believe that they could achieve those goals, those are the ones that change direction. So maybe sounding like a broken record about these specific formulas could be a good thing for you. I'm your host for Take 10 Listings, and we're aiming to upgrade your skills and teach you how to manage tasks. Probably right now, more than ever, it's an important time for you to decide which of these things are noteworthy for you. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about this question that comes up among sellers most often. I would say 8 out of 10 times you're going to hear a seller say, "How much is my house worth? How much do you think my house is worth?" Or they're going to state to you what they think their house is worth, and you have to choose when you're going to decide to debate that. Well, one way to answer it, and I got a lot of beautiful notes and letters and emails from all of you during the past week. Houses like yours have been appreciating a lot over the past few years. The truth is, I'd be kind of doing you a disservice if I just spit out a figure. I mean, you can go to Zillow, and they're going to give you a figure that's not even within $60,000 or $70,000 of what it's really worth. You know, if I spit out a figure without looking at your lot, without looking at your home, without looking at the features and the upgrades that you did, I would be doing you a big disservice and probably missing the mark by 30, 40, 50, $60,000. Listen, I do a complete valuation at no cost and with no obligation to you, and I would only need to be at your house for between 20 and 30 minutes to have you show me around, and then I can give you a very accurate valuation based on my experience. How much is my house worth? Well, your neighborhood has a huge range of lot sizes and square footages. So any realtor that would claim to be able to pinpoint the value without checking it out would be a pretty, uh, in my opinion, they'd be a pretty unprofessional realtor. They'd probably be doing you a pretty grave disservice. But I can tell you that it's probably worth more than you think. I am going to be in your neighborhood tomorrow night. In fact, I have to be right around the corner from your house. You're on 5th. I'm going to be on 7th. Could I stop by tomorrow evening, maybe just before 7, so I could take a look at the house? If I take a look at it, I can give you a pretty good idea right then what it's worth. So there's this theme here, guys, that you're noticing where you acknowledge the question, but you really try to what salespeople call punt. You want to create some space between you and that question so that you can close them for an appointment. And I could tell you from watching residential real estate agents that try to pin down a valuation on the phone, they're making a fool out of themselves. They just don't know it. They're not respecting their profession or their career. It's like calling a doctor and say, "Could you diagnose this symptom that I have?" And the doctor goes, "Yeah, it sounds like you've got tuberculosis." That isn't how a doctor works. They're going to say, "You got to come in. I got to do some x-rays. I got to do evaluation. I got to see it." So your neighborhood sells fast between 300 and 475. Look how wide that range is. You know, you're assuming this guy's a 350 or a $400,000 house. And you could spit out, I think it's worth about 400,000, and you'd look like a buffoon. But if you say to them, your neighborhood has been selling fast and it's been appreciating dramatically. Most of the houses in Grand Isle sell between 300 and maybe like a 475. But I would really need to take a look at the condition and take a look at the upgrades that you have, lot, you know, all those things before I told you where you'll land in that range. But I can certainly do that with you tomorrow night. Are you free? I happen to be right around the corner on 7th Avenue tomorrow talking to another family. I think you're on 5th, so I'll be done with them at about 6. I could come over right after that, or I could come over right before that. Would it be better if I came over at 4 so I could be done before my appointment, or would it be better if I came over at 6 so that I could see you after my appointment? Which one would be better for you? Another technique that's important is called an acknowledge and ignore technique. Follow up your answer with a question. So let's do a quick version. Man, your house has been appreciating so much. Neighborhood has a wide range of prices, maybe between 3 and 500,000. But the real question is, would you be able to close between February 28th and say April 1st? Is there any chance that you'd be able to close in the month of March? See, what you're doing is you're taking their question about the value of their house and you're changing it back to them to say, if the math made sense, would you be able to close in March? So it doesn't matter how much your house is worth. It's are you motivated to actually sell your house? Would you rather move in April or May or June? When are you hoping to move? So following up your response to their question with a quick question that provokes a sense of motivation makes a lot of sense. So I've got some variety of answers from you guys on how much is your commission. The most important counsel we can offer you regarding commission structure isn't what your commission is, but when you answer the question. So what's important for you to hear from us is that strategically it's better to have a commission conversation in the living room after you've done a marketing presentation and valuation and considering all their options about when they're moving and all that. Having a commission conversation at the onset of a relationship is the wrong time. It's not what your commission is, it's when you discuss your commission that we're trying to uh, stress to you. So rather than address the question assertively, you need to pick your battle. Well, I have several commission structures to choose from. When I come over, you could pick the one that is right for you. I've heard some elite realtors across the country say, look, that's a marketing decision. That's not a compensation commission decision. That's a marketing decision. And you're going to make that marketing decision, not me. Actually, our office offers several options for you to choose from. They start at 1% and run all the way up to 8%. In fact, the commercial transactions that our company does get paid 10%. But I need to learn a little bit about what you're trying to get accomplished, and you're going to pick the right commission strategy that's right for you and your company. Well, you'll actually make that decision when I come over. I have several different options. Leave it like that. But if the consumer pushes you, yeah, but what's your commission? What are you looking to charge? If he's more assertive and you say, literally I've done deals for as little as 1%, and my brokerage has approved those. And we've done deals for as much as 10%. Most of our commercial transactions are 10% commission. So it can be less than 6% depending on your situation. If that's something that you feel comfortable answering. I mean, remember, we're not advising you what commission to even put into those figures, but these are the types of answers that elite realtors give when you ask them what's their commission. Actually, that's going to be completely up to you. Our company offers structures from as low as 1% and up to 8%, but you'll choose the one that's right for you. When are you thinking about making a move? And again, we're using that acknowledge and ignore technique. Would you be able to close in the next 45 to 60 days if the math made sense for you? Great realtors always use the terminology mathematics. Why don't we do some mathematics? I can break down all the expenses that you're going to incur selling your home. and I could show you what you're going to net in your pocket at the end of the transaction. Why don't we do that math first, and then we could talk about, your choices as to how you may want to market the home. So that's a very effective objection handling technique, and we're not suggesting all of them. We're suggesting that you pick the one that's right for you. Do you have a buyer? A lot of for sale owners, expireds, even some experienced sellers will ask realtors if they have a buyer to kind of knock them off their game. You need to have a prepared answer for, do you have a buyer? Something like this. Yeah, actually, I have several buyers. My company is probably the top 2 or 3 residential real estate firms in the county. We take inquiries from families all over the country. In fact, some of the buyers that have been calling me lately are from Canada. Recently, I took an inquiry from Peru. Um, I have shown a house on 7th, around the corner from your here on 5th. I've shown it to 12 families in the past 2 or 3 weeks. That's a fact. But about 8 of those families still have not even bought a house. So yes, we have a ton of buyers that we could be entertaining if you entrusted us with marketing your home. That's a long-winded answer. I'm just giving you guys kind of a caricature of the way that you would uh, play objection handling with the right sellers. Well, I don't know if I have a buyer for your house. I haven't seen your house yet. But based on what you're telling me, having not seen it, if what you're telling me is fairly accurate, I could probably begin showing your house as soon as this weekend if you gave me permission to. So you're taking his question and turning it back to him. I think scripts are the most important part of sales. And I don't usually refer to them as scripts as much as an agenda and a quantifiable best answer. Now, that's a big word. Quantifiable best answer. That means, what do you feel the most conviction about, and what works best when you use this answer? Hey, based on everything I know about your house so far, I could pretty much guarantee 3 showings before the weekend. And I'm not kidding you. We just need to do some math and see if everything makes sense to you. I would start bringing you buyers as early as tomorrow if the math makes sense, right? So that's a little bit more of an assertive way to do it. There's a lot of for sale owners and expireds that are going to bring things up to you like, bring me a buyer and I'll pay you 3%. You have to be assertive with these folks, but depending on where you're at in your career, you may want to play a little mental chess with the consumer and a little bit of objection handling techniques. So we're going to give you some examples of what some of the best realtors across the country use. Well, it really doesn't work like that. So imagine you're standing at the front porch with a for sale owner and he says, hey, I'll pay you 3%, bring me a buyer. And then you just say, well, it really doesn't work like that. First thing I would need to do is take a look at your house. Then we'd need to do some math to determine that you're happy with the net return on selling it. And then if everything makes sense to you, you'd have to sign a piece of paper that gave me permission to show your house. See, so just saying that you'll pay me 3% doesn't really work. We have to do some formal steps. I work for the largest real estate brokerage in the county. They're not going to just whimsically agree to, a verbal agreement. We have to do some math and have you sign off on that math. And if everything makes sense, I would begin to show your house. Would you mind if I came over to take a peek at your house tomorrow? What a great immediate twist. Just acknowledge and ignore the 3% offer, move straight to an appointment, and see what kind of magic happens in the appointment when you get out there. Remember, Jerry Maguire says, just get me in the living room. Everything else falls into place if you get me in the living room. I bet you that's what every realtor tells you. So bring me a buyer, I'll pay you 3%. I'll bet you that's what a lot of realtors tell you. Well, the truth is it really doesn't work like that. As a professional, I would need to see your house. We'd need to evaluate the pricing decision that you've made. And after I see your house and we do some math, I sure might be able to get it sold. But when's a good time that I can come over and take a look at it? Just turn that back over. Here's when I said mental chess. It's kind of a sales technique to decide to just let him chew on that lure for a little bit before you decide to set the hook. And I'm talking about buy owners, expireds, absentee owners, farming clients, strangers that you've never met that are offering you 3% instead of 6% to sell your home. These are very strategic conversations that elite realtors have all the time. But you might say, so great, you're already willing to pay 3%. We haven't even met yet. I think it's really smart of you to offer a commission to get the house sold. I mean, a lot of buy owners don't even understand that part. But I would need to see your home, and I'd want to do a little bit of paperwork to protect my consumers. So if I were able to bring you over several buyers over the next few weeks, would you consider letting me come over and take a peek at your house? So you're letting him almost believe that you're willing to do it for 3%, but you're not fighting that battle right now. You're just kind of go with it for now until you get into the house. And what you want to do here is shift from the idea that you have one buyer that matches his house to the idea that you have a lot of different buyers. In fact, over the last 6 months, our brokerage has taken inquiries from probably 3,400 buyers, and that's a fact. I could show them to you on paper. So we average about 600 buyer inquiries a month at my brokerage. And that means I don't know which ones of them match your house until I've seen your house. We've done some math on your house. We need to understand the lot size, the square footage, how's your family room compared to the other family rooms, all that stuff. We need to understand how that fits. But if you shift from having a focus on him asking you to bring one buyer to a conversation about all the buyers that your brokerage markets to nationwide and even worldwide, it will increase the gravity of the appointment. So if you do use the old Floyd Wickman sweat hogs technique to kind of yes them to death to get in the door, it's because Floyd is so charismatic. If he gets in the door, he's going to close them for the 6% commission, and he knows it. So he just says, hey, Mr. McGillicuddy might end up buying your house. I've got a few other buyers that I've been getting. In fact, one of my buyers just came from Toronto, and he's looking to buy something in the next couple weeks. But rather than focus on one buyer, let's take a look at your house, let's do some math, and let's see if this makes sense, right? So you're kind of closing for the appointment, because some of the great salespeople in this industry know if once they get in the living room, I don't know, a little bit of relationship builds, and then you say, look, I can't do this deal uh, for any less than 6%. That's what it's going to cost. But let me show you how that math plays out at 6%, and you can decide if that math works for you. And you'll be shocked when you do enough formal presentations in enough living rooms how many consumers will gladly accept your commission structure because you've done a full professional job for them. They'll agree to those terms. Sometimes when you're talking to a seller, they will tell you that they already have a buyer, especially when they've been on the market by owner for a while, or they've been expired and they had been marketed by another company, or maybe they just, met a buyer at work and they think that they have it sold. So the way that I think you should respond is as a humble servant. Rather than tossing them aside as having it already sold, rather than believing that it is going to functionally go to closing, why don't you just serve them and care about them? And if you serve them and care about them, then great things are going to happen for you in your real estate career. So, oh my gosh, that's so great. You already found a buyer. That's awesome. Um, who did you decide is going to hold escrow? You don't know that yet. Who did you hire an attorney to draw up the contract? Now I know some of you guys are in attorney states and the attorney has to draw up the contract, but in a lot of the states across the country, the seller and the buyer have to deliberate about who's going to draw up the contract. Do you know who's doing the mortgage for the buyer yet? The reason I ask is a lot of times, a buyer will think he's got a mortgage, but unless you do the due diligence, that's one of the things we do. We like to understand if he's really mortgage worthy or not before we go ahead and accept the contract. Did you guys discuss who's paying the doc stamps or the doc stamps on the deed? Now, of course, you're not going to grill down on all these questions, but these are just thoughtful ways that you can be in service. Did you guys agree to who's paying abstracted title yet? Is he going to do a roof inspection or a termite inspection? Did you find the inspector yet? I can't say this enough. Never go down this list of questions with a seller because it'll feel like a browbeating. But are there any non-allowables in the mortgage that you have to pay for this consumer? Because that could be a $1,500, $2,000 swing on what you get out of your pocket. So what you're doing is you're kind of dancing all these questions just thoughtfully to see if he really knows what he's doing with this buyer yet. Did you guys reach an agreement on the price already? How much is he putting down? Does he have a contingency? Does he have another house to sell before he can buy yours? And one really important question, I've asked this of many, many buy owners over the years that thought they had a buyer. Can I just ask you real quick? This is the last thing I'll bother you with. Did you pick the contract or did he? Did you pick the real estate contract that you're using or did he pick the real estate contract that you're using? And the reason I ask is sometimes a buyer will submit it like a 10 or 12 or 15 page contract that has a lot of loopholes in it. And if you didn't like devise or design the contract, it could be kind of one-sided. So who's drawing up this contract? He's got an attorney. Oh, he's got an attorney. I bet you that attorney's working for him then, right? What kind of mortgage clause did he put in? How long are you going to give him to do his inspections and appraisal and survey, title search, loan commitment? When do you want to close? When does he want to close? So those are just thoughtful questions to ask once you're in a conversation and they have a buyer. Would you mind if I came over and gave you a copy of the contract that I would suggest that you use? Has anybody ever explained how our company has a for sale by owner assistance program? And I'm just going to explain that real quick. A lot of brokerages, if a buy owner already has a buyer and the seller have already agreed, the real estate company might manage the transaction for a lesser fee. That's called a for sale by owner assistance program. That means they've already found a buyer and you're going to do it for, a reduced commission because they found a buyer. When are you hoping to close? Have you found a house yet? Could I buy some of the houses in Wellington where you're thinking about moving to? That way I could give you a copy of the contract that I recommend you use, and I could bring you some of those houses that are in Wellington where you're thinking about moving. In yellow at the bottom, the most important thing is what contract are you going to use because it could create some sense of value that you're bringing. If you're in an attorney state and the contracts are pretty much drawn up, make sure he knows to get his own attorney. But then you can ask some other questions about how you can help with the transaction. Whenever I drop off a contract to a for sale owner expired or someone who thinks they have a buyer, I always highlight some of the areas of the contract so that he sees that you're bringing value. And just understand the reason you're going through all this work, even though it seems like he has a buyer already, is because most for sale owner contracts fall through because the seller didn't do his due diligence on the buyer. They just, went ahead and agreed to take their house off the market for this buyer before they even knew if he was willing to. And in the same vein, if they say, sorry, I already got it sold, going back to that contract, have you decided what contract to use? Is your buyer approved for a mortgage? How long is the mortgagee clause? How long are you giving him to inspect the house? And this in yellow, if the for sale owner expired or seller believes that his house is already sold, you will build so much relationship if you focus on where he's buying. So if there's any opportunity at all to help him with the relocation, you're going to stand out. Most real estate agents just focus on the one they're selling because they think that they're supposed to focus on the listing. Yes, but the whole relocation is vital. So have you ever considered doing a renovation project where you're buying? Has anybody ever shown you what a reno would do or a fixer-upper could do for you and your family? Have you ever bought a house at an auction? Have you ever bought a bank foreclosure directly from a bank? Have you ever considered building new construction? So if you're in service to this consumer who thinks he's already got his house sold, and there's an 80% chance that the house that he thinks he sold is going to fall through, what a great way to build a relationship with him or her so that you're in service to them regardless of if you're the listing agent or not. So we gave you some objection handling techniques that I hope are useful. Now I'm going to share with you some of the letters that our companies have been using for 3 decades with great success in Southeast Florida. And I will tell you that some of your letters were fantastic. So whatever letters you like to use, and we direct these different types of letters to different types of sellers. So let's talk about someone who had their house on the market a couple years ago and never put it back on the market. That's called a seasoned expired. Let's talk about somebody who's on the market by owner, but not really giving it the old college try. And let's talk about some families that may have appreciated a lot recently, and might be thinking about selling. Maybe their kids just graduated from high school, or maybe they just had a baby, or maybe there's a job transfer that's imminent. Sending out this letter about the economy is a curious way to make yourself stand out from a crowd of realtors. What's going on with the economy and how will this affect your home's value? If you've been watching this economy for a while, you know what is going on. Interest rates continue to drop because recently they have, and they're hoping to offset some of the consumer confidence issues. South Florida real estate has been appreciating at double-digit rates for the first time since the crash. It's been booming pretty good. And buyers have been in a frenzy trying to get in before prices and interest rates go up. Your neighborhood is one of the areas especially affected by the inventory crunch. Overall, you may be thinking this is a great time to sell, and you'd be absolutely correct. So that letter goes on. It's a little bit of a longer letter, but it does have quite a few paragraphs that you could extrapolate some sales techniques that you like. We provide this letter for you free from any charge. One of the great letters for a farm area or an absentee owner, one of the great letters for a friend, if your friend, you hear through the grapevine that one of your friends is thinking about selling their home, maybe someone from your spouse's work or your one of your kids' teachers is thinking about selling a home. A nice letter to send out is this staging letter. And this is a good time to explain that the red ink is for where you need to edit and then turn it back to black ink. So staging your Hawks Landing home, staging your Rio Vista home, you're going to actually change the red ink to match the target audience. So let's say your husband has a friend at work that's thinking about selling his Hawks Landing home. You would say staging your Hawks Landing home means more money and a faster sale. There's something very important about putting his subdivision name in there. So your company is named Caldwell Banker. You write Caldwell Banker offers certified staging professionals. Or it's your company is called Remax or Kai's or Weichert. Weichert offers certified staging professional. So you change the red ink to match your audience. National statistics and a very recent local statistics prove that certified home staging experts can sell your Governor's Walk home for 6 to 13% more money and up to 40% faster sale. The 2019 inventory overload has drastically affected pricing and saleability in Governor's Walk and comparable subdivisions like Glen Walk, Summerwind, and Verona. Using those subdivisions that the seller recognizes in the letter is a technique. It's a very useful technique. It makes an emotional connection with the seller, and it lets them know that you personally are an expert. Your company name, Century 21 has stepped up our service by bringing on certified staging professionals. This aggressive decision ensures that our valuable clientele compete and outshine the competitive listing inventory. So the letter is laden with red ink for you to personalize, change it back to black ink, and it will be a very professional letter for you. I do not take this personal. If you don't like a piece of it, you don't like some words in it, change it. This is about your conviction. You're a self-employed individual, so you have the right to build your own letters. I'm just offering you some proven letter techniques that help. Now, with for sale by owners, there is a technique that says help them first. Help them first. Serve them first. So this letter says we will help you in every way possible, whether you succeed on your own or hire a professional. For sale by owner assistance means just that. We are a full service real estate company with outstanding history in York County. So put Broward County, Gloucester County. We have surrounded ourselves with the best in the business, including experienced real estate attorneys, in-house mortgage, title companies, and marketing experts, bringing buyers from dozens of different sources. So this letter is great for sale by owners because it addresses the obvious. They didn't want to hire a professional, but you're here to help them anyway because you're a full-time, committed, career-oriented person and you're there to serve. Help me help you. Even if you never plan on listing with a realtor, maybe you need a blank contract, maybe you need some help with pricing and negotiations. If your buyer says he's qualified, maybe we can help you by introducing him to an AnnieMac rep. There's a million ways that you can help a for sale owner before they decide to list their home with you. Now, there's a couple of aggressive techniques in letter writing for sale owners, expireds, absentee owners. This one is the 3 things you need no matter who sells your home. It gets into disclosure, sales contract, and abstract of title, and it explains why the seller needs professional consultation. And it really gets into putting a number down for your title rep or giving them a 1-800 number to call. In the expired market, you're going to find that in expireds and by owners, you're going to find that there's a lot of offers being thrown around to those sellers. I'm not condoning or confirming or suggesting that you make any of these offers, but demonstrating the types of offers that are being made to those sellers by very aggressive realtors in your community is probably one of the things we can do to help you. Here's one: we will sell your home in 60 days or less, or we will sell it for free. Would your old realtor do that? We do a lot of things that your old realtor didn't do. This letter has been useful with expireds and by owners because it does stand out from the mundane offers that come in from realtors. It's not something, again, that we condone or recommend. It's just that I know that these letters do get the attention of sellers. Another very aggressive letter that we've taken out of the national landscape is: we will sell your home for the highest price or we'll pay you the difference. This is called a high price guarantee. This changes everything. The top realtor in your area has created enough momentum in your subdivision to put his money where his mouth is. Again, I'm not condoning, confirming, or recommending that you use any of these techniques, but there is a lot of realtors out in the country that do these things, and you just need to be aware of them. Using letters like high price guarantee or 60-day sale guarantee, maybe you see something in these letters that you can use in conversation. Maybe you just see a theme in the letter that you like, or maybe you use these as templates for your own sales letters. Either way, we appreciate the opportunity to just reveal them to you. All of the letters that we showed you today and the scripts are available to you through coaching at AnnieMacWorks.com. And as soon as you're done with this class, you're going to receive a group of questions to answer and to complete your assignment. So all the letters will be there, and all of your scripts, dialogue, and objection handling techniques will be part of that bundle. So we're finishing up Take 10 Listings Week 3, and I've got a seasoned expiry assignment for you. I told you we would get into meeting new people now, and I hope that this will be the simplest, easiest way for you to stretch a little out of your comfort zone, but stay within the confines of some things you already know how to do well, and maybe you'll get some results to have some excitement to bring back to us in week 4. So your assignment is a 90-minute time block. And the first piece of the assignment is for you to pick your favorite scripts and responses from those objection handling techniques and from the telemarketing works agendas. I want you to pick your favorite letters and personalize them. I can tell you that Walter Sanford and Craig Proctor and Mike Ferry and Brian Buffini have free letter templates on their websites. If you don't like ours, go find some that you do like, but you better find your favorite letter that has your personal conviction stamped into it. Your third assignment is the most important for your 90-minute time block, and it's going to require you to go into your local MLS computer database and to find an expired, terminated, or withdrawn listing that had expired, terminated, or withdrawn 90 to 120 days ago. So you're going to actually put in a date criteria that would be a window from between 90 and 120 days ago. Now, these are called recently seasoned expireds, meaning they've seasoned for about 3-4 months, right? And they've got this window that they've been off the market. So your assignment is to search your local MLS for an expired, terminated, or withdrawn listing that decided to take their home off the market 3 to 6 months ago. Now, there's a second step. You've got to confirm that they have not relisted. And in most MLS systems, you can just pull up the active listing that's associated with that expired. If there's no active listing that's associated with that expired, or he's not relisted or she's not relisted on the market, you have officially confirmed that they have not relisted their home as of yet. So what I'm going to do is the same technique that you used at the end of week 1, reaching out to me via note, email, or voicemail. You got to take all 3 actions. You've got to send the seasoned expired letter. You've got to send the email, if you could find their email address anywhere, and you have to send them a voicemail. Now, lucky for you, most people do not pick up the phone when you call their home, especially during the day, and you can leave them a voicemail. Remember, we're just putting some training wheels on and trying to ride this little bicycle without falling over right in the beginning. We're going to want you to send them a note, send them an email, and send them a voicemail. There is a script that's on the Telemarketing Works agenda with the opening lines, clever conversations, appearing interested, and asking thoughtful questions so that you can take the call if they do pick up. But the bare minimum is to leave them a voicemail, send them an email, and send them a note. And the last, and what I think is becoming the nation's information exchange highway, is you have the ability to send them a message on Facebook and on LinkedIn. So your assignment is to time block 90 minutes. Is 11 to 12:30 a long time? It's not a long time. And you can find 5 homes that expired. You can confirm that they have not relisted. You could send them a note, an email, and a voicemail, and then you could find that seller on Facebook or LinkedIn and friend them and send them a message. If you would complete those assignments and the questionnaire that goes along with week 3, you'll be given a password to week 4, and we're going to start digging into presentation and follow-up skills with your sellers. But this is the first time we're asking you here midway through in week 3 to actually reach out and meet some new people using the techniques that you practiced and learned during weeks 1 and 2. You're going to do a note, an email, a voicemail, and send them a message on either Facebook or LinkedIn, and both. You can do this assignment in less than 90 minutes, so stop whining about it. Get to work, get your 90-minute time block in, and you'll be proud of yourself. We'll be proud of you, and you'll be on your way to becoming a listing agent and taking 10 listings with Andy Mac Works. Appreciate your time and attention. We'll see you during week 4.